أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Inshallah, we will continue our discussion on prophethood. And last 2 weeks we've been studying the 18th word. We finished, actually it's been 3 weeks, yeah. 18th words, we finished the first point, second point. We started the third point. We discussed the first half of it. And inshallah, we will continue with the second half, which is about the two signboards, two spheres, which is directly related to our topic, prophethood. Before doing that, let's remember what we studied last week. And just to give you a hint, maybe remind you, we've been studying the ayah from Quran. If you do love God, follow me, God will love you. إن كنتم تحبين الله فاتبعوني يحبكم الله. Okay, who wants to remind us what we discussed last week? And maybe we can start from Sister Sarah, since we finished with her question last week. It was just a suggestion, but thank you for following my suggestion.
Assalamu alaikum. Yeah, last week we were discussing the third point. As Brother Burkan mentioned, the ayah, إن كنتم تحبون الله اتبعوني يحببكم الله. If you do love God, follow me, God will love you. I remember a few things. One thing I remember is that the tafsir that Norsi demonstrates here is it's kind of different than the common tafsir, like by the traditional tafsir of the Quran, and that was one of the questions that was raised. So in the traditional tafsir, the ayah simply means that, well, not simply, but it means if you really love Allah. So first of all, what does it mean to love Allah? Is to follow, like you show your love by following His Prophet. That means by following what the Prophet has instructed us to do, from like as Muslims, from prayers to all the other main worship that we should do as Muslims, and then God will love us back. And love for God usually is manifested by us worshiping God and not just saying like, oh, God's it's not important to worship. It's like love is in the heart and whatever, like these things that we hear a lot. But love can only be manifested by like the actions of worship that we do. Now, and that was according to Brother Burkan, that the tafsir was towards a certain audience. And Imam Norsi here is addressing a different audience, and that's how he came up with a different kind of like interpretation of the ayah. And the audience, I believe, was people or someone, or even Norsi himself, metaphorically maybe, that did not have God in their life at all. And and he started by what we've been discussing before, that we see beauty around us, we see art, which is a sign that the creator is someone who loves beauty and art. And one of the best and most, like, let's say, artistic creatures of the creator is a human being, because human being can actually like get to know his creator through I think looking at the universe, or I don't know if I'm saying weird stuff, but that's what I remember. And one of the best human beings that walked on this earth, that got to know his creator in the best forms or ways possible, was the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, so Prophet Muhammad. And that's where I think the like the here, like the ayah, or like follow me, I think comes to play. That's what I remember. I remember one thing is what Brother Yusuf said. So in the text, Nursi talks about two spheres. I believe the what was it? The two spheres, the sphere of dominicality and the sphere of worship. And that's like basically in the ayah, it's reflected by the first part of the ayah, which is the sphere of worship. So if you love Allah, and the sphere of dominicality, Allah will love you, and they kind of both intersect into like in the Prophet. That's how like the follow me. That's what I remember.
Alhamdulillah. So please remind me every time we start with Sarah. She gives a nice summary. Alhamdulillah. Any other comments? Questions, maybe? No, I mean, the way you sit now, I have this inclination to ask you something, like you waiting, like, okay, please don't ask me, like all of you just, sitting there very straight and, looking anyway. So would you like to say something? One of you? No? Okay. So as Sister Sarah said, Imam Nursi here is trying to feel the idea, like for most of us, it's the empty thing usually, love of God. I'm loving God or God loving me. What it means, what it corresponds to, and so on. Usually there's no much meat there. And Imam Nursi is trying to explain them, trying to make them close to our life. That's how I see. And he says, when you look at your life, if you enjoy things in your life, everything that is being created in front of you, for you, if you enjoy them, you love them, right? And you love their maker. Whoever is giving them to you, you have this love towards the maker, right? This is how human works. So if you, for instance, I'm trying to find a not sensitive examples. Friends, let's say friends. You have your friends and their acts, whatever they do, the way they treat you, behave, and so on. If you don't like it, right, there is no way that you would say, oh, I love this guy, or I love this friend of mine, right? So only when you enjoy their presence, meaning you enjoy their actions, you enjoy what they say, what they do, how they treat you, how they behave, and so on, only then you can have really a love towards them. Right? So the same way in this life, you love the maker to the extent you look at the things and you say that, okay, these are beautiful things. I enjoy them. I love them. I love my family. I love my friends. I love, the environment that I'm being created in. I love my body, the aging body, or let's say sick body. I love it. Only then you can really say that, whoever is making it, I love him. I love, it. So he's making connection on one side. He's making the connection between, the creation, the way we enjoy, and how this enjoyment, how this love goes to its maker. So there's also the other side. This is how what I mean when I say I love God. It means whatever is manifested in my life coming from God, I love it. On the other hand, he also says, look at the creation, including yourself. Don't you see that it is being created in a way that as if, again, this is just the as if, right? The misal, as Quran says, just an example. As if it is being created with love. Like whoever making this, making it lovingly, right? So just like you look at a beautiful art piece, and to the extent you enjoy it, you can also see that whoever made it must be, enjoying doing it. Again, just an example, metaphor. To the extent you see the artwork in your creation, you would say, okay, whoever is making this must be loving it. So he's making it clear, what these concepts, ideas mean. Okay, so far we discussed this. Who wants, do you want to add anything? Anyone? Oh, yeah.
Since brothers were not talking, I think we can ask a question to Brother Arsalan of what he understands when we say, do you love God or I love God? Like practically, let's hear a voice from this side.
It's just a coincidence, like Sarah talk and then you're asking.
Oh, well, actually, they were just sitting next to each other. Yeah. I mean, because this is a common thing, actually, in our culture, if somebody wants to make you do something, they would say, if you love God, do it. Like, Allah'ını seversen. Like, as if challenging you with, if you don't do what they ask you to do, then it turns out you're not loving God. So since you love God, okay, I'll be doing it. Like, it's for granted. Like, you must be loving, you should be loving God. But what does it mean to love God practically? Rather become
It's a similar phrase in the English for the love of God. You might say anger.
Oh, for the sake of God. Somebody help me for the sake of God. This kind of. Okay, for the love of God.
Christianity.
I mean, I'm still trying to understand what it means, because when Brother Birkhan was talking about love of God, I was taking it as, because he mentioned you love your sick body, your healthy body, and the art around here. So I was thinking it more in the sense of you appreciate it rather than loving it, because loving means that you are attached to it, and that you shouldn't be attached to this Pani world, right? So that's why I was thinking it from appreciating part. Is that correct? Is it?
Yeah, like you appreciate the food your wife prepares, which translates into love of your wife, right?
Okay. So that's what I was thinking.
I mean, yes, right? By the way, right? You appreciate the food.
I love that. I don't appreciate it.
Okay.
I'm attached to it.
That's for the recording.
Of course, yes. I'm attached to it. Sorry, could you repeat the question? What the question was?
So when somebody tells you, like Yusuf says, or Yusuf tells you that he loves God, what do you understand from that?
Or do you love God? Let's put him on the spot. Kadir says no.
So, I mean, if I'm being very, I don't know if I want to be honest, diplomatic, then I would say yes, I love God, but I don't know what that means, honestly, to say that I love God. I mean, I would say I appreciate everything, the beauty around me, and that actually leads me to actually know who my creator is. If that means to love my God, then maybe I guess I would say yes. But if there is another meaning to it, like how Prophet Muhammad used to love him, so I would say no, I haven't actually reached that level yet, so I wouldn't know.
Do you love your mom?
Yeah,
Let's say mom.
Do you love your mom?
of course, yeah,
Do
yeah.
you know what love means?
Yeah,
Okay. Do you love God?
I don't think I've actually reached that level yet, so
I think that's so. It's a good point. Like loving mom, for instance. I think love of God is so. Let's say the abstract for us, not something tangible, because the same, like it is also same with love of loving your mom as well. And you have some feelings, yes, and your mom has some feelings towards you, but in our society, at least in our age, like our times, even these relationships are so broken that like you have this pressure kind of, right? You have an attachment to your mom, and your mom has an attachment towards you, but you act so, let's say, rude to your mom most of the time. You act as if you don't care her. The way you speak to her is not as nice as you speak to strangers. The way you act, the way you celebrate something about her, usually not as nice as you can be with others. And we still expect that there will be a lovely relationship between the two. And it usually doesn't happen. So what happens? You just have this attachment, like an addiction, and it starts causing troubles. I'm just let's say psychoanalyzing the generic the template relationship families. So what is missing is the actions, or what is missing that the products, the art that you produce for your mom, your actions, are usually not nice. So she doesn't see any nice thing coming out of you. The same thing, usually same for you as well. The way, for instance, she treats you is usually just authoritative. What is the word? Sorry. Okay, everybody understood it. Authoritative, right? Nothing. I mean, I'm of course exaggerating it, right? Nothing nice coming out of it. No smile, no nice thing, and so on and so forth. So what happens? Just a tension, just a let's say addiction, a loveless relationship. But we still call it as, of course, I love my mom. So the same thing goes with love of God as well. When we look at the creation, we don't see anything that we enjoy. Our works are troublesome. Our families are nothing but trouble. My shoes just hurting my feet. My body is not as good as I want. My grades are not great, whatever. When we see the life this way, the love of God, the creator of everything that I don't enjoy, becomes just a word. And you start having the same type of problematic relationship. So what I'm trying to say, to the extent that we don't have a real meaning when we say I love my wife or I love my mom, it doesn't mean much for us most of the time. The same way When I say I love the Creator, Allah, it doesn't mean much either. Because every time we just memorizing words, making it so abstract, and it's not driven by the products, the arts, the actions. So it doesn't mean much. Sorry for being pessimistic. It was just a way of explaining things. Use this. I will fix. Oh, okay.
To answer this question,
Still.
can we just look at the ayat like 331? It says, "O Messenger, tell people if you indeed love Allah, follow me." So it kind of answers that question, like what is the love of Allah? Is like following the Prophet. It starts, "O Messenger, tell people if you indeed love Allah, follow me."
I think it's an insertion there, right? Yeah, it's just a cool. Like, oh, messenger, tell people part.
It
It's
says,
a-
"Tell people if you indeed love
Yes.
Allah, follow me, and Allah will love you and will forgive your sins. Allah is all forgiving, all compassionate." So, like the question that you were asking, like, what is love of Allah? Can we extrapolate from the ayah that it is following the messenger?
I think that's the conclusion we will reach. But if you just, let's say, memorize it and say that, if you love God, follow messenger, it will again become another problematic relationship. Like, you wouldn't still know what does it mean to love God. You don't even know why you are doing this, but you are supposed to do it, and you are doing it for that reason. You are following messenger just because you are supposed to follow it. You don't, like, there's no meaning for you in it. You keep doing it, and it becomes another problematic family situation.
So you have a sister, right? So just imagine in the case somebody comes, or your sister comes, someone comes and says, if you love mom, act like me so that mom will love you. So in this case, you should be at least concerned about loving mom or something. Like, even before your sister coming and suggesting you, the topic itself must be relevant to you, that when the messenger or whomever comes and says that if you love, then you should be, yeah, of course. But generally, the way we take this verse is that, oh, Qadir, you talk too much about loving God. Here's the challenge. If you really love God, then follow the messenger, then he will love you. That's okay. But let's be honest and really think about ourselves, other than those claims. Since the messenger is bringing a message that must be relevant to me, the idea that if you love God, when this happens, it must be a relevant suggestion. Like, if I come and tell you, if you love insurance companies, you would say, well, I don't love insurance companies. You don't need to continue the rest of the sentence, you would say. Like, the first part of the sentence must be relevant to you. This is the most relevant nowadays. So then love of God must be something relevant to us, central to us. And this is why picking up the examples of love of mom or love of wife or love of kids, like, these are the things that with which we know the feeling of love from. Like, these are generally not that much questioned. Do you love your kids? I mean, of course. This is how I get to know, let's say, the cleanest, purest version of this feeling so far. Of course, it's not perfectly pure, as Brother Birkan is saying, a lot of problems in there. But in my life, like, my love towards my kids is much, much, much more purer than my love towards my, I don't know, boss, for example. So based on this, since this is my main tool to taste this feeling, now I should ask the question, if I am naming the feeling through this interaction, then how does this feeling apply to love of God? What does it even mean in the first place? That now that it's being mentioned in the verse, just to be able to continue with the rest of reading the sentence, I should say love of God. Is it really having any place in my life? Is it, because especially, let me see, people in their entry to marriage, like in this phase. After the marriage happens and whatnot, jokes are all over the place. But in those early phases, just the texting phase, like even when the name or the possibility or the topic pops up, your heartbeat rate changes. So like something awkward is happening to you. Those feelings are having an effect on you. Your creator is being mentioned. God is being mentioned. Does it induce anything on you? Or should it induce anything on you? Because love of God, then probably it's something that should make me at least as much excited. Yes, how I am going to prove it, we will get there. Or, I mean, not only to prove it, but it has a utility in there. But still the first part, what does it mean that I love God? Because why do I love a cute baby? Why do I love my wife? Why do I love my mom? Or why do I love my dear brother Khadir? And why do I not love insurance companies? Because I do see some sort of a beauty in all those that I love. Like love comes in response to observing a beauty. So which beauty is there that makes me love God is the question, I guess.
Okay, so let's continue reading the text and we will touch upon that. Again, like what Yusuf said, the last sentence, his last sentence, it will come here. Who wants to read? We will start from the now two signboards, two spheres appear. And it's a very short read. So if I were you, I would just volunteer, read this short text, and be free for next week. Oh, you want to start from the beginning?
So we have two people who were not here when we
Okay,
were
let's.
reading. Did you guys read it, or shall we read from the beginning? Like two people there. There are two and Sister Aisha. Yeah.
It's still a very short reading, so I would. Yeah. Who wants to read? Abdurrahman, would you like to read? Let's make a change. I was looking at you. I don't know. You are beautiful, so.
From now two spheres or two signboards?
No, from the beginning. Thanks to Michael Yusuf.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. If you do love God, follow me, God will love you. Since in the universe there is observedly beauty of art, and this is certain, it necessitates with a certainty as definite as actually witnessing it, the messengership of Muhammad والسلام, for the beauty of art and finely ornamented forms of these beautiful creatures show that their fashioner possesses a significant will to make beautiful and powerful desire to adorn. And this will and desire show that the maker possesses an elevated love and sacred inclination towards the perfections of the art he displays in his creatures. And this love and inclination require to be turned towards and concentrated on man, the most enlightened and perfect individual among beings. And man is the conscious fruit of the tree of creation. And the fruit is the most comprehensive and furthest part, the part with the most general view and universal consciousness. And the one with the most comprehensive view and universal consciousness should be the most elevated and brilliant individual who will meet with and be addressed by that beauteous maker, who will expend his universal consciousness and comprehensive view entirely on the worship of his maker, the appreciation of his art, and offering thanks for his bounties. Now, two signboards, two spheres appear. One is a magnificent, well-ordered sphere of dominicality and exquisitely fashioned, bejeweled signboard of art. The other is an enlightened and illumined sphere of worship, and broad and comprehensive signboard of thought and reflection, admiration, thanks, and belief. The second sphere acts with all its strength in the name of the first sphere. Thus, it will be clearly understood how closely connected with the Maker is the leader of the second sphere, which serves all the Maker's art-cherishing aims, and how beloved and acceptable he is in his eyes. Is it at all reasonable to accept that the munificent fashioner of these fine creatures, who so loves his art and even takes into consideration all the tastes of the mouth, would remain indifferent towards his most beautiful creature, who, in a clamor of admiration and appreciation, which makes the throne and earth reverberate, and in a litany of thanks and exaltation, which brings to ecstasy the land and the sea, is worshipfully turned towards him? Would he not speak with him and want to make him his messenger and wish his commendable conduct to pass to others? It is possible that he would not speak with him and not make him his messenger. By no means. Verily, the religion before God is Islam. Muhammad is the messenger of God.
Jazakallah khairan. So up until the second part, starting with now two signboards, two spheres appear, author said in a very summary form, brief form, as if telling us, look at the creation, you will see nothing but beauty, its maker, making it beautifully. Obviously, there's love toward what it makes. And look at the human. Human is created in the best way, best form. And this bestness coming from this universal consciousness or universal view of the human being, meaning seeing all these different, the artful creations in the creation, having this relationship with the creation in a way which goes beyond everything else, knowing its maker in the best way. This is the most important thing about the humanity. And he says that this fact alone kind of suggests that this consciousness of man having a relationship with its maker, the maker of the universe, suggests that this maker would, speak to him. There's this the appreciation coming from the man, appreciation of art, and it wouldn't go for nothing. So he would respond from the creator, he says, kind of. And then let's start with the second part. It's talking about the two spheres. Yusuf, would you like to maybe open it up a little bit about these two spheres?
I got stuck in the previous part. So, yes, now two signboards, two spheres.
You can go back to this first part if it would help you.
The part that I got stuck in the first part is, do I care about God loving me as well? We talked about human loving God, but do I care about God loving me, or what does that mean? Because the sentence, what messenger or whomever, or to myself, what I'm expected to say is, if you love God, follow me so that God will love you. How much do I care about God loving me? What does that mean? This is number one question. Number two question. today in the khutbah, for example, Khatib was saying that he was talking about like do your best about exams and whatnot. He said, trust me, God will give it to you. And then I said, shall I trust you? Like I'm seeing you in the khutbah. Okay, I mean, you must be a knowledgeable person giving us khutbah. But by just trusting you, will I do what you said? So how would I know that I'm going to be given? In this case, messenger is saying that if you love me, so if you love God, follow me. So trust me, God will love you. So how would I know? The second follow-up question is, how would I know that God will love me? Shall I say, Prophet, I mean, is the Prophet in this case saying that, trust me, in the khutbah, trust me, God will love you? So is it relevant to me was what I was thinking about, but sorry, since I got stuck there, I couldn't move forward.
Anyone wants to say something about the God loving you part? Like, do you really? Oh, yeah.
I mean, the way I see it kind of like comes from what we've discussed before and then the retreat and so on. So if I think about someone loving, like what does it mean if someone loves me? Like it's not God, but someone loves me. The first thing that comes to my mind is that they have like my best interest at heart. Like they would care about me and about my well-being and yeah. And then but then if I translate that to what does it mean for God to love his creatures or his worshipers, it will kind of be the same, but I think the idea is how does it manifest when God is like, how does it manifest that God is taking care of his creatures or he has their best interest at heart? So I think we talked about like how it might not translate into like prosperity and wealth and being granted everything we wish for and so on. Maybe, I mean, love of God in this life, I'm talking. I think maybe in the afterlife it will be different, but as we discussed before, whatever comes in the afterlife, it will start from this life. And it will be like maybe in some form of like, let's say in a hardship that I think we're going through now, like whatever's happening in the world. And so he will create this tranquility and peace in my heart that will, make me like look forward to like whatever is going to come next. It's just something that, I mean, it could be what people wish for, like, wealth and prosperity, whatever. But I think if God loves, for me, if God will love his worshipers, it would be more that he will guide them more and more into the light. And that's by like creating light in their heart that helps them overcome whatever like hardship that they are going through in this life, whether it's, like the hardships, like, I don't know, financial, whatever, but it could be like way deeper than that, or it could be like even more existential crisis that they live through. The love of God will help them like guide them through this, create like sort of light in their hearts that will guide them through this life and start seeing like from this life, they will start seeing and recognize like the eternal, the presence of like the existence of an eternal life. That's how I don't know. That's how I would see it. Yeah.
Allah razı olsun. Oh, thank you. I was speaking Turkish. I'm reading the Turkish text. So my mind switched to Turkish and I said, Jazakallah khairan in Turkish. Okay, so the way I see in this text, the love of God, I'm not sure, but probably it's like maybe what you are asking, Yusuf, is more relate to how would you translate the Rıza radiallahu anhu?
Pleasure. God's pleasure.
No, Rıza.
You being pleased with God, God being pleased with you.
Okay, yeah, that kind of, okay, not the pleasure. He's not, yeah, okay. He's being pleased with you. Maybe your question is more about that. I don't know. Like, what, because the way the text goes, the text says, look at the creation, look at yourself, how you are being created. It is an indication, sign that whoever is making you in this way, he's loving you. So it's almost a starting point.
I think it's the merging point. The way, because the verse is putting your love to God and God's love to you. So it must be that I am concerned about being loved as well. I must be concerned about being loved as well. Like for example, Sister Sarah's point. Let's assume that mom is not able to benefit you at all. But still, at this moment, like you're financially independent, and maybe your mom is, I don't know, like may Allah give her long life, but she's about to pass away or something. You do not expect any benefit from her at this moment. If she says, I hate you, Sarah, I have been in Germany and you didn't even come from US, how would you feel? That would hurt so much. Like not being loved at this moment, although she's not going to do any harm or benefit to you at this moment, still will hurt you so bad. And just hearing the word, oh, Sarah, I love you, no matter what, you will enjoy this just as the opposite. Yes, I mean, there's this part of benefit side of it, but just the fact that being lovable somehow matters for us. Why so? It is there. I don't know why, but it is there. Like being lovable. And the verse is talking about if you love God, do this so that God will love you. So it looks like me loving God and God loving me is somehow related. And I am in expectation of being loved. But in between, he is now putting this, following the messenger. So somehow, to go with now what Brother Birkan was saying, by following the messenger, you will realize that you were being loved, or you are worthy of love. You are now being a proper human being. You are demonstrating a lovable creature. Then you will sense that you are being loved at that moment as well, to the extent that you demonstrate this prophetic character. But this is what bridges the two sides of this equation. One side is if you love God, the other side is God will love you. What bridges these two endpoints is following messenger. But before coming to the bridge part of it, so now the two parts, I mean, before talking about the bridge, talking about the two sides of it. Do I love God? And I think with the first part, loving God could be understood then as anything that you love. What is it other than being a manifestation of your creator? I'm not using the word your creator because it's going to be misunderstood, but it is nothing but coming from your creator. Like you love Qadir because of certain qualities that he has. Where does those qualities come to Qadir from? Qadir is not the creator of them. Qadir will die or it's not from him and it will disappear as well. So anything that I love, that I get attached to, is actually coming from my maker, my creator. So for instance, if I were to love Arsalan because, I don't know, each and every week he brings some cookies And if you say, oh, our son is a good guy, and my wife says, why is he a good guy? I say, well, every week he brings some cookies. Then he says, well, it was not him who is bringing it. Actually, it was Sarah who brings those cookies. Since my love for Arsalan was because of the cookies, now, so anything that we observe in this existence, we love things for a reason. I love salad because of onion and lemon. So if there's no lemon and no onion, I don't love salad. But where does the thing that I love in onion and lemon come from? Does it come from themselves? Anything that I love, that I get attached to, is a manifestation of my maker. So when I say I love my creator, if I am conscious, I should be saying that, yes, I love living, I love sunrise, I love my mom, like all these things. In reality, if I am conscious, should mean I love creator. He is really beautiful. He is really merciful. I love him. I love all these manifestations. And this is nothing but from him. But I also want to be loved. No? I'm not going to ask this question to Atik because Atik would say, no, I don't want to. Anyways, I'm not going to make a comment about your pants. So, but how about this side of the equation? Being like having this desire to be loved. It must also be there. I want to be appreciated. Or this need for love. Let's talk about need for love. And I don't know. Let's talk about it a little bit. Yes, there's one. Microphone is there.
I guess as I was listening, I have a question about like it feels very much like a give and take, even though I'm the only one taking, but like conditional. Like, oh, if you meet this criteria, then there's kind of this check mark. But I don't know. I guess like when I was thinking of God, I was never thinking of like, okay, there's this checklist, and if I fill that checklist, then I can get that love that I supposedly desire. And so I'm having a hard time with like, oh, the thought of God being like so merciful and this too, like, well, if you do this thing, then you're good, like you can be loved. So how do you bring the two together of like that mercy and like he's not in need of you, so why does it feel like that? Like one, I have a hard time comprehending. Actually, I agree with Arsenal. Like I have a hard time comprehending what love looks like in that sense, because like humans you can attach something to, versus God. I guess like even if we talk about like, well, you can see God in everything, I'm always also like, yes. And so if me just like, oh, what a beautiful morning, is that enough? Like then I don't have to go and think of another imagination, and I have already served that purpose. So I think I'm having a hard time with that, like give and take. Like it feels like that at least.
After what you just said, actually now I'm actually more confused with the God will love you, because when Sarah mentioned, I thought I understood it, the whole tranquility part, but now I'm actually more confused with what that means. What does it mean that God will love you? What is that feeling like? What is that meaning? Because if I'm thinking from a, like, let's say a non-Muslim's perspective, he would go, oh, I love money or wealth, whatever. The wealth, that feeling is still created by God. So does that mean that God will love me back too? If I'm actually thinking from that perspective, like, what does it mean then? What does God will love you?
Before what does God love you part, do we feel that I am in need of being loved? Do you want to be loved? Because it should be that for this sentence to be relevant to me, If you love God, follow me. This sentence could have ended in various different ways, isn't it? Like, if you love God, follow me so that you will get into paradise. Like, loving God as a response to loving God, me loving God, what is put? God will love you back. Is this something natural, or is it just comes weird to me, only to me? What do you think?
Well, I'm not 100% sure, but like from the text, the more I read it, especially the way it starts, like it says, if there's this beauty in the creation, then the messenger must be the Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam must be the messenger. As if Imam Nursir is reading the ayah not as, if you love God, then follow me, and then God will love you. And then the question, as you said, becomes like, do you really care whether God love you or not? But rather, maybe he's reading it as, to the extent you love God, you will follow the messenger. So to the extent you love God, meaning to the extent you see the beauty in the creation and realize that there's a Rabb taking care of everything, including yourself, to the extent you understand this, you will be sure that your appreciation of this beauty and so on will not go for nothing. As you keep appreciation, as you keep send hamd to the Creator, He will respond to you, meaning you will be sure that there must be a prophet, and to that extent you will follow this prophet, and to that extent you will realize that you are being loved as well. It's more than a condition, like if you love God, then follow Muhammad, and then you will be loved. It's more like, to the extent you love God, you will follow Muhammad, and you will understand you are being loved. When you read it that way, it becomes, you see the rububiyyah in creation, that everything being taken care of. This is one part of the equation. And the other part of the equation is that you appreciate this being taken care of. Like you see the mercy, the Rabb, rububiyyah. Somebody is creating everything with mercy. And in response to that, you have appreciation of it, being thankful to it. This is the second part. And it will, take you to the maker. As you become more appreciating, you will get closer and closer to the Creator. And the idea of messenger will automatically come because you want to have this relationship with the Creator, the one who creates everything beautifully for you. You will want to be addressed by this maker. Hence come the messenger. And through that, the existence of messenger is telling you that you are being addressed and you are being loved. So again, I'm not sure it's about your desire to be loved, but it's more like your appreciation of this creation, the merciful creation. Hence, like when you take it that way, it's also easily connect with the remaining ayahs. you keep appreciating, you think being thankful, and as you face with your reality and you saying that I'm not thankful enough to his mercy, you ask for forgiveness. And then the next ayah says, God loves you, he will forgive you. But again, I'm not sure. Sarah, you were raising your hand.
It was just something along the lines of what you were saying. I thought like, yeah, if we go back to like this, you know, someone wandering in this world, walking around, and he realized that there's this beauty, there's a, you know, creation, there's order, and there's someone also, you know, something that has created him and taking care of him, and he realized, okay, there's a creator somewhere out there. And then he like stops and says there should be, or they want a way to be able to, or they realize that actually this creator is actually worthy of worship. Like you said it in a different way, like they appreciate it so much. So it's like it's so beautiful. It's not so easy to ignore, you know. So they want to be thankful. They want to be appreciative. So they want to turn and worship or whoever is worthy of worship. And then if we think about the prophet, he was in that state when he, you know, like we said, he was the best of worshiper, and he was like the one chosen to be addressed by the creator. And then if that person who is also in this state of like wondering, how can I worship my creator in the best way possible, I should go back and turn to the one who did receive this message and create or worship his creator in the best way possible. So they will turn back to the prophet. So I think, coming back to the question, what does it mean to love God? I think I would now say is more like to acknowledge this, you know, if you had this question in mind. So you acknowledge it, you see the creation, you see the beauty, and now you turn around and you say, I want to worship this God. I feel like he is worthy of worship. Like he created and keeps creating, keeps taking care of things, keeps, you know, like it can't be like it's all just what's called like random things and whatever. So how can I worship him? I would turn and, okay, the way his best the best of his creatures worshipped him. So it's the prophet. Now, how does then God love me back is, I think, another question. But I think now love of God for me is now like to really acknowledge and realize he is the creator, that is the only creator that is worthy of our worship, worthy of our appreciation, kind of. Yeah.
Oh.
I think maybe as to the second part, the way you explained like the first part of the ayat makes sense to me. And I was thinking that for the second part, if from what I observe in the universe, like whatever effort or striving I put forth, or action, like any action I put forth, has a response to it. So as I seek, as I like learn about like this love of God and like following the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I get a response to that striving, and I think that's something we touched on earlier, like this tranquility, this tranquility and peace as I sort of go on this journey and try to learn more. And similarly, if I find myself attaching myself or loving other things, I don't observe that same sense of peace. Like I can say, like we were talking about attachment earlier, and I thought that made a lot of sense. Because I can say that I love my mom, but sometimes I feel that love bringing me great anxiety. Like if I imagine like ever like having to lose her or like going through that separation, it just brings me anxiety. And so I realized that she can't be the source of love for me. So I think truly like so experiencing this need for love, I want to find the one who can fulfill that need and follow the way to do that. And then also by doing that, so I feel it's more of like a progression rather than like a conditional thing where you go through this process, this journey, and like Brother Birkan was saying, you realize that this is the way that actually helps you experience what true love is. Sorry, not to make it sound cliche or cheesy, but what true love actually means and the response that you get by seeking out this pure love. So that's what I kind of understood from God loving you back as something that I will experience as I put forth this this effort.
Because I feel like there's a moment maybe where I don't know if I felt like I've gave, but I've definitely felt quote unquote like love from God or like mercy or what I felt is truly being loved in that moment. So because I feel like, does that mean, do you always receive it when you're doing it? Because like I feel like I've received it many times where maybe I felt like I wasn't really observing the creation and it wasn't so linear actually. It was like maybe I felt it, but maybe I didn't feel as if I was doing anything worthy of that love, like the reverse situation. So is it always like kind of have a final statement of like, okay, and then there's love, or you've received so much and there's this idea of like, what am I doing? Like
This is a good point. Where we started this discussion from, in the first point of this text, the verse we studied was talking about those that are feeling cool and satisfied with things that are given to them, and those that love being praised for things they didn't do. This is how it started. So if we think about our case, like I wrote cookies and I say, oh, how was it? The sugar was not enough, right? In fact, when I even say, how was it? Did it taste good? Actually, I'm sort of expecting some sort of an appreciation. Like today's food, there was not enough salt, right? Mariam said. So actually, she was hinting that you would say, oh, no, it was perfect. It was good. So, I mean, as humans, I do expect appreciation. I want to be loved or appreciated by people. And the first part of the text was saying that, the verse was actually saying that if you're as such, fire is going to be your destination. This was the idea. Well, even this small kid, if he does something good, like Ali, Zainab, they will just look into our eyes, looking for some sort of appreciation once they do something. It looks as if what verse was saying was contradictory to my nature. Like I was hardwired to expect appreciation, and now the verse comes and says, if you expect appreciation for things that do not belong to you, you deserve fire. What do I do then? I have this desire to be appreciated, to be loved. But at then the first point, we said that there's nothing at you other than messing up. You're just blameworthy. There's nothing that are lovable at you as if. But this doesn't solve the problem. I mean, still I am in need of appreciation. This is why sometimes once we make the comment, we are also scanning the eyes of the people to see if they're approving me or disapproving me. Like, this is very human. So now, after the first point, we come to a point that, okay, it looks like as a human being, I do nothing but messing up. So how am I going to fix this issue of desire for being appreciated, being loved? I am given with this feeling, yet it looks like there's no way it's going to get satisfied. In the second point, it started talking about beauty. It said there's nothing but beauty in this existence. Lack of beauty is just in your perception. If you look at it per its maker, as it shows its maker, everything is beautiful. Everything shows you beautiful, the beautiful one. Now comes to the third point. This substantial need in you, you are really in affection to beauty, human. This is why the first part of the verse, if you love God, yes, you do love something, but the thing that you love is nothing but the Creator, as Sister Zerin beautifully puts, because if you disconnect them from the Creator and still try to love them, you will suffer, whether it being your wife, your mom, your child, whatever. But then at the end, this is why the author starts from the creation. He says, the Creator, just look at the creation. The Creator loves his creation. Don't you see that every creation is a work of art and beautifully, carefully being created? So the Creator must be loving his creation. Starting from there, he came all the way to the best of humanity, best of the creation, which is human. That's the best artwork of the Creator. And among human, because what is the most valuable for human? Human's conscience. Like, we are not only talking about the biological body of human being perfect. Human consciousness is there. The artwork of human is getting to the peak. Because with this consciousness, human becomes an artwork which can also appreciate the artist. Like, let's for a second assume that stones doesn't have any consciousness, relatively speaking. So it's a beautiful artwork. A stone is a beautiful artwork, especially if you put it under the microscope. A lot of art is hidden there, but it's not aware of itself or the art that's being manifest in there. Human is a valuable artwork. On top of this, human can appreciate the art itself as well. So this is where humans' art is getting to the peak. Now, he brings the topic to the messenger. The best human is going to be the one who uses this consciousness at the utmost level to recognize the true source of beauty, the Creator. With this consciousness, that being will realize that we are being loved the most. If I disconnect myself from the Creator, as you were giving the example, Arsalan, if I disconnect me from the Creator, I wouldn't say that Creator loves the creation. In my world, there's no Creator anyways. I'm just a miserable being in this existence who is just trying to live the 60, 70 years of life with trying to maximize my joy. But at the end, I'm going to become a fertilizer. There's no love in this world, in this worldview. I wouldn't say, oh, there's wealth, I love wealth, and God gives me this feeling of love. That person in such a worldview, this feeling of love of wealth is not created. In this person's worldview, it just happens there. So we are talking about myself. To the extent that I get to know my maker, not only that, to the extent that I realize that my maker is creating this existence lovingly, as much as I recognize this, as the Prophet ﷺ did, then I will realize that, oh, I am being loved. His love becomes my sustenance. Like, this feeling of need for love is then going to be satisfied as such. Why Prophet? Because, I mean, the way he structured it, this is why the first sentence of the third point was starting by the beauty of art and fine ornamented forms of these beautiful creatures show that their fashioner possesses a significant will to make beautiful and powerful design to adorn. And ultimately, he take it to the messenger. But the whole conversation in here, it is at the end touching me as a human. And the reason Prophet ﷺ is being mentioned in here is he is the human. To the extent that I am deserved to be called a human, this applies to me as well. But since I am abusing my humanity, wasting my humanity, many of the times I am becoming just an animal. This is why I'm not experiencing this being loved in my life. But if I can become a purer and nicer human being, as the Messenger ﷺ has been, then I will realize how much I am being loved. And that life is going to be a comfortable life then, because you are being appreciated, you are being loved. But there's no you in there anymore. You in the sense of the nafs that was being mentioned in the first point, because you said everything is now from him. Hence beautiful, hence worthy of love. So where did we start from in these 3 points? We started from human's ego who says me, 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 me. At the end of these 3 points, we are coming to a point where a person comes, Abduhu wa Rasuluhu. He is a slave now. He only says huwa. There's no me, me, me left. He only says whatever you see here comes from him. It's all huwa now. To the extent that I get to this end, I will realize that I am being loved. But again, this is only to tie the 2 ends. Still, we need to talk about the bridge part. The bridge is our main topic, because the author's argument in here is that his initial point was very interesting. He said, since in the universe there is observable beauty of art, and this is certain, it requires with a certainty as definite as actually witnessing it that Prophet Muhammad ﷺ is the messenger. To the extent that I realize this, I can bear witness to prophethood of Muhammad ﷺ. Like even Prophet ﷺ was in this room. What does it mean to bear witness to prophethood of this person? It's not about his flesh and bones, right? Abu Jahl was seeing him in person. You're not seeing him in person. Does this make any difference? No. Still, although you haven't seen the body of the Prophet ﷺ, you can bear witness to his prophethood as if witnessing it. So witnessing in here does not mean that witnessing his flesh and bones. But meaning, I am so sure such a person must exist. And looking at the history, this is the person that we are looking for. But for sure, such a person must have existed. This is where now the bridge is going to exist. The author really puts it at the heart of the topic, the place that he puts the bridge. But to get there, I need to realize that I am in need of being loved, and this can only be fulfilled not by people loving me. This is how we generally do it. Either I'm trying to be the most funny guy and crack jokes so that people love me. If I am wealthy, I am just trying to distribute money to people so that people love me. But clearly at the first point, it said that, no, don't go that way. You're doomed. You will burn, metaphorically speaking. Then how come? How am I going to be loved? Because we are beggars of love towards our parents, towards our partners, wife, husband, children, students. I mean, I would like my students to love me. Since we are on record, I'm not going to get into further detail of what I do to be loved by them. Well, okay, I can admit this much. To receive their feedback at the end of the year, they need to fill in the feedback form. But no student wants to waste nobody loves me enough to fill up this form to waste 20 minutes of their life. But I give them 1 point extra credits if they fill up the form, so that they appreciate me. So how do I receive this appreciation? This is an existential need of human being. So then prophetic example gets in there. There is an example of how to receive this. But again, the author started from creation. I think this is the most important part that we'll take from here. I mean, many interesting things actually that's happening in this text right now. It's a verse which we tend to take like it's easy. It's what it says very clear. But now we should be questioning ourselves. There are many things we have taken for granted, never questioned, including what does it mean to love God? Including what does it mean that God loves me? Do I love someone? Am I in need of being loved? As we keep questioning this, actually, this seems to be humans' one of the most basic existential need. And as a result, prophethood is just sitting at the center of this to prove the point. This is why now it's concluding that as this is a very central and existential need of mine, and it looks like this is the only solution for this, such a person must exist. And this person, based on the testimony of the time, has been this person. And I am sure he is the messenger of the Creator. And as much as I am in need of being loved and appreciated, to recognize that I am being loved, he is the one who is mentioned as Habibullah. Very interesting, beloved of God. What does it mean, beloved of God? Like in Arabic, they use this word like Habibi, as if the Creator says Habibi, like my beloved. Like this is literally some word that you would use for your fiancé, let's say. Sounds very awkward when we talk about it from God towards a creation. It's not romantic love. But this word Habib is being used in there. So Rasulullah is the beloved of the Creator. If you want to be loved and you are in need of being loved, this appreciation, and you don't have anything to be loved for. So, yes, sorry, too many repetitions. 5 more minutes.
We have 5 more minutes. And who wants to take is the most important part of the discussion? The last 5 minutes. Sian, go ahead. No? Okay. Let's have the question at least. Where is the other microphone?
Next, start again.
No. Go ahead, please.
I'm still a little confused about when the author says that like here Allah, where the maker possesses an elevated love and sacred inclination towards the perfections of the art he displays in his creature. Like somehow the maker loves the perfection and the art that he himself is creating. Like, I don't know, it doesn't make sense. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Also, I was looking back in the Quran where like where it's mentioned like what Allah loves, and most of the ayats it ends with like Allahu yuhibbul muhsinin, yuhibbul mutatahhirin, la yuhibbul. It's like it's very clear in the Quran that Allah loves certain type of, like when in the Quran when it mentions the love of Allah, it mentions certain type of people that have certain character. They are, you know, muhsinin, mutatahhirin. They don't, like, they are not mu'tadin. They are like, so like they're like very specific. Yeah. So I'm not sure. I'm just trying like to link, you know, because we are saying that Allah loves all, like, and has a like a deep inclination towards his like this art and creation. But like, let's say I have a bad idea in my mind. An idea to say like a bad word. It's not a good thing. But this idea in my head, I think we discussed this before, but I like really forgot. Like everything is created by God, and then the only thing is it's up to me whether to, you know, take this path or that path. The path is created for me, like the two paths, right? But it's now like here it comes like the human will, whether to take like this path or that path. But whether it's the good one or the bad one, they are both created by Allah. But one of these paths is favored by him, is beloved to him. For me to be from the محسنين ومطهرين. From like, I don't know if this is true, and if it's true, it kind of like contradicts with saying that Allah loves everything that He creates. Does that make sense? I don't know. Because if everything is created by God, there are some things where we shouldn't love. We shouldn't right? Like, because in the Quran it's very clear who is loved, who is beloved by God. I would understand maybe all these, like the muhsinin, mutahirin, and everything. These were all characteristics that were like manifested in the Prophet, peace be upon him, which we can see from like his seerah and so on. And that's how we know how to be from the mutatahirin, how to be from the muhsinin, you know, how to act in a certain way to be like the Prophet and to be beloved by God. Like he's like yeah, but I just don't understand. I think we discussed this before, like when there is like two paths, one path is evil, one path is good, and I choose the good path to be beloved by God, and this path is beloved by God, but the other path is also created by God, but it's not beloved by, it's not loved by Him. So I cannot say like every creation or every art is loved. Like God has this, I don't understand what it means, like God has this love and inclination towards his art and creation. It's just, yeah, it's still not clear for me.
No, yeah. So maybe just one thing, as we discussed in the second point, we talk about the beauty only, that we can talk about the beauty only when we look at from the perspective that it is being created. Otherwise, if you look at the things itself, you will see the ugliness there. If you look from your perspective, what you did, why you did, and so on and so forth, you will see ugliness there. But the way it is being created, the fact that it is being created, you will see beauty only then. Like even if you have, so for instance, I have to like make this gentleman cry after the discussion. So joke aside, when you have a terrible idea in your mind, let's say, it is ugly in the sense that it looks at you, your inclination towards this idea, what you understand from this idea, what you want such an idea. This is the ugly part. But the idea itself, the way it is being created, right? How it is put in your mind, for instance, and so on. It is a beautiful creation. When you look from your perspective, it is ugly. When you look at the idea as just an idea, it is ugly. But the way it is being created, it is the beauty. So you talk about the beauty only on the face that looks at the creator. That's the beauty, only part beautiful. Otherwise, everything is so ugly in reality. You say, I love my mom. What do you mean? Without the creator. What do you mean really? She fed me, and I hope she will keep feeding me. What is the beauty there? You're just using your mom. What do you mean when you say, I love my mom? When I'm in need, she will take care of me. Nobody will take, but she will take care of me. What is beauty there? You're just using your mom again. She works so hard to get some money or the house and whatever. And you're just saying that I have also right in that. You have to take care of me. What is beauty there? From a biological perspective, from a psychological perspective, from the best perspective you can find within this world, what is the beauty? It's just like a fake love that you just made up. Right? But only when you look from the creator's perspective. I don't deserve anything. But still, creator puts this feeling in her that she's taking care of me. Why? No reason. Whoever put this feeling there must be the merciful one, must be the loving one. That's what you mean with creator loving. Otherwise, like, again, it all goes back to imagining creator making an art and loving it. It doesn't make sense. But when you look at the creation, anything in the creation, Ali, throwing a ball to Huda, and Huda starts crying. What's the beauty there? And I'm getting angry. What is the beauty? No beauty, just pure ugliness. But when you think about the creator, right? He having some needs which is not fulfilled. And towards these needs, he having these feelings, whatever. The way it is being created, so elegant. She's being hurt and manifesting this hurt with cries. Such a beautiful. Because through these cries, I'm triggered and about to hug her if mom was not there. Such a beautiful creation. Only when you take it from the creator, when you realize that it is being creator, put there for reasons, purpose, meanings. And I look at this creation, I say that whoever created this must be wise, must be merciful, right? Must be compassion, whatever. Must be also just. He's being, warned by his father. There's justice as well. I say, whoever is creating all these things must be the loving one. That's what author says, like what author means when he says the maker has this immense love towards the creation. Take it from the other side. When you look at the creation, you will see nothing but love, he says. Your bad idea or whatever. And what I understand from these ayahs that you said, creator loving muhsinin, and the other qualities and so on and so forth. I think its text is explaining these two spheres, that you see this beauty, you see this love manifested in the creation. To the extent you appreciate this, to the extent you act in a reciprocity, reciprocate toward that. How? Being thankful. This is the definition of muhsinin, right? When you reciprocate, you got it. When you respond that, when you become thankful, when you show your hamd, when you start worshiping, right? Loving everything that you see, this act is get the response back. And the creator tells you that, yes, this act, this, what you are performing, what you are doing is loved by me. So this is what I understand from these ayahs. So they are actually to me, exactly what Imam Nursi is saying.
I'll just ask one question. When we read from Quran, Inna Allah yuhibbul muhsinin, does this make sense to you? What do we mean? You would say yes, I guess. But when you say yes, what do you mean by this? Why do you say this makes sense to you? How do you confirm? Make sense means I can confirm, right? So that means you can confirm it, but how do you confirm it? Through some experience that you go through, don't you? So speech comes and says, this is how I am. Then I check it with myself or my interactions and say, oh, yes, actually, my creator likes Muhsinin. This is what the author was doing in here, right? So humanity, and from among humanity, somebody who responds back to this is going to be Muhsin, must be beloved. Came to the same point. Made sense. This is where he started, though. He said, look at the creation. You see that it's being made by choice, right? It could have been otherwise, but it's made this way. So it looks like the maker has a will and intention, and it's being made carefully. It looks like he is doing lovingly and caringly. It makes sense. So whenever we say it makes sense, it applies everywhere. Quran mentions certain names of the creator, some of them in hints, some of them explicitly. But Quran teaches us a pattern how to confirm those messages. We do not simply take, since he says he loves, therefore it must be. We read it and we confirm it. Same thing in here is happening. This is why when I see how this baby is created, the one who makes it like, look at this charming little baby, I would say, definitely somebody is as if trying to entertain us, loving us, caringly, lovingly creates this baby. I can confirm it. So in these discussions, yes, traditional tafsir has an approach. Author is inviting us to confirm Quran, to bear witness to Quran. So this is what, like, just remember what we have been thinking, which was mentioned at the beginning of today's discussion twice. This is what this verse means, we said. But this is what this verse means, as was mentioned at the beginning of the discussion, was as we take a certain approach to what Quran is, what speech of God is, which is, it's just a recipe to me, like putting check marks, and I take it, apply it, go with it. But exactly what you said, it makes sense. What does it mean that it makes sense? I am in need of it, like bearing witness to it, confirming it. This is where your feelings now gets into picture. This is where your observations gets into picture. This is where the creation gets into the picture. So reading Quran along with the creation, or letting the Quran to interpret the creation to me, is what's being done in here.
Let's conclude here, inshallah. So just maybe as a concluding remarks, in terms of the prophethood, from this text, then we learned one aspect of the prophethood is seeing the creation as being created, seeing all the beautiful artwork in the creation and appreciating it in the utmost level. And through this appreciation, sending thanks, being worshiper, right? In a state of hamd, and doing it at the utmost level, receiving a response back. So this is one aspect of the prophethood that we learned so far, right? Then when we say prophet, this should come to our minds now. And going forward, we will learn some other dimensions, other aspects of the prophethood as well. So here, for instance, we haven't discussed, at least in depth, how the prophethood is a teacher for the humanity, for instance. We haven't discussed that in depth. We touched upon that because you're trying to imitate him to be loved. It's like taking him as a model. Yes, it is there, but not in depth. Here, the emphasis on being a worshiper, being the utmost, the best worshiper, and the worship is being defined here, at least within this context, as appreciating the beauty in the creation, the mercy in the creation, seeing the Lord, rububiyah, seeing that everything, including yourself, being taken care of, and responding this rububiyah through being an abd. Okay? So that's what we learned about the prophethood within this text. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. الفاتحة.